Hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what I painted this month for March 2016. I do realise we're halfway through April, but as you may have heard I was quite ill for the last few weeks, so I haven't been able to do this video, and also it did limit what I was able to get done painting wise at the end of last month and the first half of this month, but we'll get to that later. So as for March, you can see that I've got some more Kings of War Goblins done, some Fleabag Rider Sniffs, which we'll get a close look at in a minute, and some Dark Ops Cemetery terrain, which is very, very tasty. So without any further ado, let's go straight into the close-ups, shall we? So I had some incomplete Goblin Fleabag Riders. They're supposed to be the ones that come with the spears and the shields, but I got them in a bag out of a bargain bin, so I knew exactly what I was getting, and it was my intention all along to actually convert them into Fleabag Rider Sniffs, which is what I eventually did with them, those being the Fleabag Riders that have bows. So how I went about this conversion, I just assembled them as normal, but left off the torsos, and there's a bit of a hole where you're supposed to plug the torsos in, so I filled that with green stuff and then drilled a hole in it. Then I took some spare Goblin Spitters, which are their archers, that I didn't use because I don't use the full amount for each unit, to space them out a bit, and I sawed those in half, took off the top halves, and pinned them into the green stuff. So the top halves of the body are just Goblin Spitters. But I do really like Goblin Fleabags, they're definitely my favourite Mantic Goblin unit. And I don't even mind the fact that they're in Ristic. Mildly annoying to assemble, but I think they look very, very good. The ones that are sitting on top of cork have been pinned through it, as I generally do, because I don't want to accidentally peel off the top layer of cork if the model gets knocked. Also, the Fleabag Riders come on these tiny little bases that you're supposed to stick on top of another base. But to kind of disguise that, I've built up with milliput around them, so it just looks like a little hill that most of them are sitting on. You can see a little bit of a different angle here, and I've put arrows on the backs of quite a few of them. I do just have a big pile of arrows lying around, probably from old Warhammer goblins. On the back of the leader there's a little bundle of arrows as well. I only had 7 complete Fleabag bodies, but that's how many I would have liked to have used on the unit anyway. And you can see the back 4 there. You can see that I've posed a couple of the arms so it looks like they're reaching back for arrows. In fact, the one furthest from the camera is actually holding an arrow in his hand, ready to place it in the bow. You can see a nice close-up here so you can get an appreciation for the colour of the Fleabags themselves. You don't generally see it too well from most angles, but underneath you can see that they are actually blue. Also, another thing that should be noted with these guys is that because they were incomplete, they didn't have any tongues. So all those tongues I had to fashion out of green stuff myself. And the fact that you probably can't tell, I put that down to my incredible skill. These are going straight into my Goblin army because I was struggling to hit 2,000 points, which is the usual tournament amount, so I was having to take quite a lot of artifacts on my units. So with these guys, a few more units on the table, giving me a few more options as well. Next, let's move on to the Dark Ops Cemetery, shall we? This is all laser cut. The walls generally come in 2 halves, so I had to PVA glue those together and then clamp them. And just to be on the safe side, I left most of them overnight, so it was quite a slow process doing all of them, but I'm sure you don't really have to leave them that long. Or if you have more clamps than I do, you can obviously get them done faster. Or if you want to use a more rapidly bonding glue, obviously you can do that. As far as painting them went, I sprayed using a dark grey primer, and then I did a slight wash over it, just to darken up the crevices a little bit, and then I went in and did a lot of dry brushing. The main dry brush over the bricks was done quite heavily, a grey that was lighter than the base colour. As you can see, it's quite uneven, which is what I was going for. And then all the edges I went over with a very slight white dry brush. You can see the graves there that have some custom text on them, which is quite fun if people actually read it during a game. And this one is the grave of George and Mildred, apparently, which is the infamous mostly naked Etin. The moss on these pieces is it's kind of clumpy flock that I've had for a really, really long time, and I struggle to find a good time to use it because I find that it looks terrible on miniature bases. But I think I may have just found the perfect use for it with this because it does look quite mossy, doesn't it? You can see I've just run it all over them just to give them a little bit of variety, make them look a bit more interesting. I've got another large building from this set that I haven't been able to put together yet because I was ill, so I'll have to get to that very, very soon. Also, my progress has been hampered a little bit this month because my airbrush has been on the blink, as they say. It keeps clogging. I've tried to clean it out multiple times with different substances, but it's not being too effective so far. So I've got some more Kings of War goblins just sitting at the airbrush station waiting to be primed at the moment. So if I can't get that figured out, then I may have to get a new airbrush at some point. Because I don't have anything on the painting table that I'm particularly inspired to get on with right now. The one thing I really want to be painting is over there, not primed yet. So we'll see what I actually get round to this month, with only half the month left. Maybe not that much. I'm hoping to get at least one thing done though, just so the next month's video isn't completely empty. So, I hope your month was more productive than mine, and less fraught with illness, and I'll catch you next time, ladies and gentlemen.